The mid-2000s marks a point where they go a bit too long form with the titles, which is probably the reason Discotek's release simply calls it Swallowtail Tattoo. Toshimichi Okawa and Hidehito Ueda come on as writer and director respectively. Yu Asakawa voices the leading lady, Becky Lambert, this time round. The ending theme for this year's movie is a rose tattoo. The Bourbon family treasure's transport vehicle has been gassed, alerting Zenigata. He catches up, convinced it's Lupin, and is surprised to see it's a young woman. Jigen watches this from afar, chatting with Fujiko about how things are playing out. Lupin dives down to the truck to make his own claim on the treasure. Zenigata climbs to the top of the truck but only finds a decoy. He spots another Lupin on a road sign, but when he jumps across he learns it's another decoy, right before landing back in his car. He should have stuck to the one on the truck, as it turns out Lupin was hiding inside it. Jigen steps up, firing missiles at the highway and blocking the truck from moving forward or back. Lupin airlifts the trailer but loses contact with Fujiko. On top of that, the trailer is revealed to be a cage, trapping Lupin, dumping the treasure and carrying him off. The other thief also makes her escape in the confusion. Zenigata looks up for any info on the female thief at Interpol. He's approached by Captain Murphy and relays what happened. Meanwhile, Lupin wakes up to a shadowy figure. He's told to steal the cursed gem known as the Bullseye from the Grand Bateau. For extra incentive, Fujiko has been fitted up with an explosive necklace. Lupin contacts Jigen and Goemon just as they plan how to rescue him, saying to meet him at the Grand Bateau. With high security and a location only reachable when the tide is low, the place could prove a challenge even for the gang. They disguise as tourists and take a look around. Lupin slips some mice out to cause a distraction. He then places a bag in one of the displays. Following this, he manages to talk his way into the staff toilets, planting a miniature bomb on the pipes and a bug in the security room. Night falls and the bag opens to reveal bats. The bomb also goes off, flooding the security room. Goemon splits off from the gang disguised as a plumber to distract the security. Lupin and Jigen make it to the Bullseye with little issue. Unfortunately, the statue it's set in has a pressure pad, setting off the alarm. Goemon makes a desperate move, slicing up the main computer before joining the others. Lupin tells the others to go ahead, slipping back in as a security guard. Jigen and Goemon fight their way back to their vehicle. It opens to reveal Lupin, who takes the one-man autogyro stored inside and leaves them to fend for themselves. Thankfully, the vehicle doubles as a boat, which the two of them use to get away. While Lupin talks with his captor, the lady thief makes a move on the Bullseye. Lupin gets knocked off the highway and lands in a waiting truck driven by Jigen and Goemon. Lupin tells them about Fujiko, but he's clueless to his captor's identity beyond him smoking Gauloise brand cigarettes. Suspecting Fujiko's working with him, they leave Lupin to pursue things alone. Lupin heads to a junkyard, meeting with an old contact, Lumberjack. He asks about autogyros, as the lady thief was using one similar to his design. Lumberjack mentions he only had two, with one being Lupin's and the other stolen. The lady thief is revealed to be Becky Lambert, that Zenigata learns has been aping Lupin's older techniques. She's currently winning big in a casino. Lupin approaches her, demanding the Bullseye. Becky's stored it in the casino's safe, wanting a race to get it. Lupin brushes her off, but takes note of the butterfly tattoo on her shoulder. Becky runs up to the top of the building and hacks the safe open. When she gets to the safe room, Zenigata's waiting. Lupin arrives, claiming the two of them are working together. Zenigata doesn't care either way, setting a police force on them. Thankfully, Goemon's on hand to cut Lupin to safety, which also allows Becky to slip away. Lupin's then contacted by his captor to deliver the bullseye to the Champs-Élysées, though he notices something off about the gem itself. Making the exchange, Fujiko is revealed to be working with the supposed captor. Worse still, the police catch up to Lupin and Jigen. They still have the money that was in the safe, so Lupin tosses it to cause a distraction. Escaping to a bar, Jigen berates Lupin for believing Fujiko was ever in danger. Lupin decides to shift focus and track down Becky instead. He realised the bullseye was a fake, meaning she still had the original, and warns her that it's cursed. In fact, her mother, Kat, was killed trying to steal it, something Lupin's surprised by as they worked together in the past, not to mention she also had the same tattoo. Becky suspects Lupin killed her and swipes his gun. Lupin disarms her pretty quickly after lecturing her on her bad gun form. He then takes aim at Becky and once again demands the gem. Of course, Lupin doesn't like killing women and the gun's revealed to be a fake. Unknown to either of them, the captor now knows about her. Murphy approaches Zenigata, who's currently researching deaths surrounding the bullseye. He shrugs off the inspector's suspicions, claiming no one has ever stolen the bullseye. Zenigata leaves, commenting on the scent of Gaulois cigarettes in the air despite Murphy claiming he hates smoking. Murphy only wises up when the real Zenigata shows up, wanting to research deaths surrounding the bullseye. Fujiko keeps tabs on Lupin's movement with the captor, revealed to be named Malkovich. They already know their bullseye is fake, and Fujiko deduces Lupin was always supposed to keep the real one. In fact, the bullseye in Lupin's possession is also of questionable origin, as he's found a tracker inside. Malkovich reveals to Fujiko that he's after the Lupin collection, hoping to use the tracker to find and take it for himself. Lumberjack talks with Becky, having known her mother, hoping to convince her not to be consumed by revenge. This is interrupted when he's shot. Lupin and Jigen arrive to help, managing to disarm the shooter. He's still able to escape by firing off a concealed machine gun. Unlike many side characters the gang have ties to, Lumberjack is still alive, saved by a locket with Kat's photo inside. Becky tracks down the gunman to a subway. While she gets a few hits in, he overpowers her and tries to force her onto the tracks. Lupin catches up to them and pulls her to safety. Becky's relieved to learn Lumberjack survived being shot. She wants to team up with Lupin, but he tells her she's still got some growing up to do. While they talk, Fujiko appears on the river below, wanting to rejoin Lupin. Becky sees right through it, but Lupin says he's fine with her betraying him, prompting her to push him off the bridge in frustration. Murphy tells Zenigata about Malkovich, first named Joseph, and how he spread rumours about the bullseye being cursed as well as all records on it being deleted, proposing they team up to stop him. As Becky wanders the streets, she's attacked. Running into an alley, she's cornered by her attacker. Goemon arrives on the scene and the two fight across the streets. He disarms the attacker's blade, but not his hand pellets. Becky manages to get the drop on her would-be attacker and demands he lead her to Malkovich. Fujiko works her charm on Lupin for info on the collection, prompting him to drive out to a remote area called Mosquito Village. Becky's brought to Malkovich, but she gets hit with a tranquilizer, her attacker having deliberately led her to him. As Malkovich heads to Mosquito Village himself, Lupin gives Fujiko a tour of the place. He explains that people think the art on display is fake because who'd show off the real thing so openly? She then holds him up, with Malkovich soon arriving. Malkovich turns on Fujiko, revealing he never fully trusted her. Lupin counters that Malkovich doesn't realise he was led to the village on purpose himself. The gunman and swordsman step up to attack, so Jigen and Goemon rise to challenge them. More of Malkovich's men also arrive. Lupin gives them the runaround, dropping them in a deep puddle. The rest of the gang are evenly matched with their respective opponents, but unable to get the upper hand. Lupin sits atop a church tower, tossing Molotovs as he laments the village is getting wrecked. Malkovich decides to make use of a trump card putting the explosive necklace on Becky. Jigen and Goemon team up and manage to gain an advantage on the gunman. The swordsman still proves a problem with his hand pellets, however, managing to jam Jigen's gun. Goemon draws him to marshland and deals a killing blow. Jigen, meanwhile, makes use of a pipe, firing a bullet by hammering it with the magnum and taking the gunman down. Fujiko holds her own against Malkovich's butler, but gets annoyed at wrecking priceless art while doing so. Lupin confronts Malkovich, who shows off Becky and prompts her to shoot him. Lupin repeats his lecture on gun form from earlier, but Becky misses. Malkovich warns her not to miss her second shot. She does so, but Malkovich himself is also shot. His killer is revealed to be Murphy, aiming for the Lupin collection himself. Making a move on the art, Murphy reveals he killed Cat. Before he can detonate the necklace, he's interrupted by some explosions outside. Lumberjack's behind said explosions, and Lupin's revealed to be alive, as the gun Becky used was filled with blanks. Murphy decides to get one victory, but Fujiko hacked the remote controls, preventing the necklace going off. Murphy tries to run, but the gang surround him. He then tries bargaining with Lupin, but while he's not worth killing, it falls on deaf ears. Lupin fires a tranquilizer on him as Zenigata arrives. He wakes back up, overhearing Zenigata mistaking him for Lupin as he's revealed to be stuck in a Lupin mask himself. Disguised as a police officer, Lupin points out a thread on Murphy. His true face is revealed and he's told he faces 850 years in prison for his crimes. Zenigata also cuffs the real Lupin, seeing through his disguise, but he doesn't manage to hang on for too long. The gang look over what's left of Mosquito Village, Fujiko depressed at the loss of the collection in the fight. The others reveal that there never was a collection, at least not in Mosquito Village anyway, as the village's actual inhabitants return and Lupin passes on some money packages to them for repairs. Becky approaches Lupin, realising his real collection is the gang, but she knows she isn't ready to be part of it just yet. Zenigata then arrives to arrest them, so they escape in the autogyros. Arriving back at the Grand Bateau, Lupin reveals that Murphy was the owner of the place, and he spread the bullseye rumours. He plans to seal everything there, as 850 years is plenty of time to do so. The rest of the gang then grow curious about Becky, suspecting Lupin himself may be her father, though he doesn't commit to an answer either way. Zenigata arrives, swimming after them despite them not leaving the shore and doubling back to escape him. With how many of its chiefs end up being corrupt, you'd think Interpol would be better at screening who they hire for the position by now. Visually, this has some good art design, particularly with the scenery. It is nice of Lupin to actually pay for the damages done to the village, as opposed to Series 1 where it was just blown to hell. Granted, back then the old man residing there still made off in the end. This time, presumably the money came from whatever was left in that safe with the fake bullseye. Story-wise, a little bit cookie-cutter, but nothing I'd call outright bad. Lupin's history is generally at its best when it's not revealing too much, and Becky ties in well enough without feeling too tacked on. Certainly up to the audience if they wanted to be Lupin's daughter or not, as there's enough signs that it could go either way, such as him advising her on certain aspects of thievery and suggesting she take a few years if that's what she really wants. Lumberjack also served as a nice addition. Good to have a side character that's part of the gang's network that not only had some character, but also didn't get killed a few minutes after being introduced. Probably one of the movies that felt like an extended episode overall, but certainly watchable enough. Next time, the gang go up against a team of assassins and try to outdo their angel tactics. Until then,